で実は石川慶監督もそのタレンツ東京の修了生ということで、そういう共通点があって今日こういう対談を設定したという経緯もあります。
Thank you, Tokyo Filmex, for inviting me to this Q&A also, because our project was supported by Talents Tokyo, the Next Master Support Program, twice. So this is a meaningful screening in Tokyo, and I'm just glad to see there are plenty of people. I expected 10, and there are more, so I'm very happy.
そのタレンツ東京で企画開発をしていただいて、それからネクストマスターズサポートプログラムっていうファンドも受けていただいているっていう経緯がある作品ですね。我々もなのでこういう機会にこの作品上映できて本当に嬉しく思っています。まずそうですね、導入として私の方からエスコバル監督にこの作品を作った経緯というかきっかけというか、あと結構そのタレンツ東京で例えばですけど企画開発してから結構時間が経って完成していると思うんですけど、そのあたりの経緯も含めてちょっとお話ししていただけますか。
It's a long story because it took me 7 years to make this film, and when we were in Talents Tokyo, I think it was the second or third year. It started when I was in a workshop in the Philippines that is run by action film workers. So I was reminded of the hundreds of Filipino action films in the past. We even had plenty of action film politicians. But when I try to recall if I know anyone that's, directed by a woman, it's very hard to name any film directed by a woman that's an action film. So I started to think with my friend, what if we made an action grandma who also directs action films? So it started with that curiosity, and so it eventually also became an existential film because it's my first feature, and I think we all have that crisis of what do we want to make as our first film. And so it's the genesis of all that. That's why it also took a long time. And the film that you just saw is a new version. It was different in every year that we were writing and making it.
ありがとうございます。映画の作り手同士で、少し質問し合うような形で進めていければなと思うんですけれども、まずちょっと石川監督の方からこの作品に関してまず聞きたいことがあれば質問していただければ。
はい、そうですね。僕この作品今日2回目見させてもらったんですけど、ものすごい面白かったです。実は最初フィリピン映画って聞いた時にメンドゥーザ監督とかラブディアス監督のイメージがすごい強かったもんですから、まずちょっと待って上映時間何時間だって確認しながら、見てみたらもう本当に普通に純粋に映画として楽しめましたし、で今回どういう方が監督されてるのかなと思ったら、こういうすごく気さくな素敵な方が監督されてて、なんかすごくいろいろ腑に落ちました。今日は最初の1本目ってどういうのを作るかってすごく確かに難しい選択なんだろうになるなと思いながら、お話を聞いてて、確かに映画についてこうやって作るっていうのは確かにすごくいい選択ではあるけれども、ちょっと近視眼的になりがちっていうか、なんかそういう、映画にまつわる第一作って結構失敗作も自分見てきてるなと思ってる中で、今回この映画すごく面白かったと思うのは、主人公に方を、女性の、年配の女性の方を主人公にして、なおかつアクション映画っていうものをそのメタ構造の中に入れたっていう、なんかこの2つが本当に大きな勝因なんじゃないかなってすごく思って見てたんですけれども、マルティカさんの、個人的なお知り合いの中にそういう女性の映画監督の方がいたとか、なんかアクション映画がものすごく好きだったとか、なんかどういう経緯でこの、決断をされたのか、ちょっとまず聞きたいなと。
Thank you for the nice words, Kate. I really appreciate it. And I think the character of Leonor is heavily inspired by my own grandmother. In some ways, she's a person who surprises me all the time. Like when we travel and we go to tourist spots, she likes to take pictures of the small flowers on the ground instead of the actual tourist spot. So she's that type of person who sees joy in the smallest things, and I wanted Leonor to see the beautiful side of life even if it's full of violence. So my grandma plays a key role, but I also think I grew up watching action film replays on television. In the Philippines, they would do that every afternoon. It's a common thing to gather with your whole family, your neighbors, your friends, classmates, and you'll just watch an action film. And people in my generation have that same memory. And I think this film is also a reminder of that memory.
なるほど。でも7年かかって、脚本を書かれたっていうことですけれども、結構変わってるんですか、これは。特にエンディングとかすごい自分も予想しなかった方向にぐっと、ストーリーが展開していくと思うんですけど、構造っていうのは初めからこうあったものなのか、こうディベロップしていったものなのか。
I was telling Kay that the version of this film is the last of 25 versions. It's a bit painful, but it also means that we kept fixing the puzzle until it felt complete. So for many years, it felt like something was missing, and even when writing, it's that type of script that builds its own. So I often describe it as a growing film. I grew as a person, our whole team grew as people, and while making the film, we thought we were making this thing, but while shooting, it actually changes. And maybe you know this experience also. And you sort of have to embrace the change instead of resist it. And so we embraced the change, and then we realized its own life form. So it eventually became an alien like this, but it's an alien we're all happy to have. And it started with just embracing a film that we're content with, even if it's not the best version it can be. Would have been nice if we had the right budget, more time, and all the things. But this is the best version of what we had.
でもなんか自分からすると本当にこのフィルムメーカーが見ると結構ドキッとするようなシーンが結構あって、何回も急にロンワールドが踊り出すシーンがあれすごい好きで、確かに自分もこう書いてて筆が止まって、あれ次どうしたらいいんだろうな、とりあえずなんか踊ってみようかみたいな、なんかこの苦し紛れに出しちゃうっていうのってすごいなんか気持ちとしてはすごく分かって、なんかそういうこう瞬間がなんかちゃんとこう自由に軽さもあってこうそういうシーンが入ってるっていうのがすごく7年も普通脚本開発やってるとちょっと凝り固まってきちゃうところが本当この自由度を、保ちながらすごく楽しい映画ができてるのは本当にすごくいいなと思って見てました。
It's true, but I think the freedom comes from the fact that I didn't have pressure. My producer was the most understanding producer. She respected a creator's space, but we didn't have money. But that's the downside. But we all understood that we wanted to work for something we believed in, even if we didn't earn from it. So I would call this a giant friendship film, a giant passion project, not just for me, but for every single person. Like the extras in the film are my friends and family, classmates, the friends of friends. So it's when we call for help, everyone was just there, and we just asked them to smile in camera, and they're in the hospital scene in the end.
もう一個すごく面白いなと思ったのが今回この映画の中と、に入る媒体が全部テレビだっていうテレビに頭をぶつけて映画の中に入るでルディも映画の世界の中に入っていく時はいつもテレビを通してなんかそういうこう、なんかすごくクレバーな使い方をすごくされてるなと思って見てました。これはもう本当感想で特に何か質問とかないんですけど。
Yeah, you're very right, because I think my entry point into appreciating cinema started from the television. And what was the first type of screen that made you appreciate films? Maybe we have a different background, but in the Philippines it's often the TV. I don't know here.
Yeah, actually I heard the same thing. Like I also watched the film on TV when I was a child, so I just thought I didn't feel that any great cinema about television. So it was also might be nostalgia for you too, I think.
Yeah. It's the most accessible object that can take us to the movies. And especially now where cinema tickets in the Philippines are very, it's a luxury to be able to sit in a place like this.
でもこの映画で僕一番すごくいいなと思ったのは本当にエンディングに近くなって編集のプレミアの画面かななんかそういうのが出てきて本当にこれが正しいエンディングかってなんか本当に映画だけの話じゃなくてこの人生は編集できないなんて言うんでしょうなんか映画作ってると人の人生をこうフィクションで作って編集してなんかこれにどれくらいどういう意味があるんだろうってやっぱり思いながら作ってるそのフィルムメーカーとしてのこの心境みたいなのがすごく深いところで最後に出てきたような気がしてその答えが歌だっていうのもすごくいいなってなんか最後は本当に楽しく見てたけど最後は自分はすごく感動して見てました。
Ending the film with a dance just reminds us to take life less seriously. Like, it's chaotic, but if you dance along, it makes you feel better. So the scene in the rooftop you were referring is me and my editor in an actual existential crisis. And when we were editing, we looked at the timeline that fits in this monitor. It's not small in Adobe Premiere. And then you see all the cuts and the layers and you see all the versions and then you start to realize, oh, this is 7 years of work in this tiny screen. And you ask yourself, is it all worth it? I don't know, but I asked him to record it and he put it in the film. So
wow.
It was a very organic process. I dragged him into that existential dark hole, but yeah. In the end, we still danced along. We're still friends. I told you about my editor who had a hard time. And he's the actual person in the rooftop. He's my editor.
っていうことは、そのシーンは脚本の段階ではまだなかったってことですか？
The scene was a different, how do you say it, version of it. It was a director and the production manager. But it was supposed to be played by actors, not me and my editor. But there was already that in the script. Because I wanted to have like two worlds, the action and the real world, but I wanted another world. So that's the other world.
なるほど。でもなんかそれがあったからこそこうもう一つ違うレイヤーができてなんか、もう本当に監督本人が出られて大正解だったなと思っています。
Thank you. Thank you everyone. I'm so happy. Thank you for being such a good speaker and I just love having this conversation with you. I actually have questions for you also that I'm curious about, but maybe we can end also with me asking you something. So I don't know, but when you made your first feature before, did you consider it as the time you were most free as a filmmaker?
After the first film?
The first film.
Yeah, for sure. I think you will get more freedom, and then, but at the same time, you have a little bit of pressure now. I think, and people expect something from you. So it's a very important time for you, I think, to prepare the next one.
Okay, so it's true that the most free phase of a filmmaker is the first feature.
Yeah, and at the same time, I already finished like fourth, and then I'm finishing fifth now. So now I really understand that the first film is like your fingerprint, and it's definitely only one you could have, and this is really important film for you. And then and you did a great job, so you already promised that.
Thanks for those stuff. I wanted to ask that in public for other first feature filmmakers because I think we're all sharing the same crisis of what to do next. You have 5 now.
エスコバル監督、石川慶監督、どうも今日はありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
Yes, you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.